We will begin with the person who dominated that very long taste of the new season, the newest cast member, Lauren Sy. One at a time it is. Okay. Amber Midthunder, who plays Carrie Lowder. Now that we figured out the logistics, Jeremy Harris is Tommy Wallace. And if you have watched this show, you can't really tell who's a good guy and a bad guy, especially since many of them turn out to be the same guy, or not even a guy. But here is one of all of them, Naveed Negahban, who plays Amal Farouk. And to prove my point, here's another one of those same, are they good, are they bad, are they male, are they female, what the hell are they, hold on to this bull. Aubrey Plaza as... And then playing what I thought was the heart of this series, but now I'm not so sure. I'm really confused. I think she's a good character, but maybe not now. Rachel Keller as Sid Harris. And here at the core of the series, another guy that I now am really conflicted because I don't know which of 87 people he is, or he's good, or anything. It is Dan Stevens. The remaining chairs are reserved for the creative executive team, and we start with Jeff Lowe, who's the executive vice president and head of Marvel TV. You may have heard of Marvel TV. And then one of the show's executive producers, Lauren Schuler-Donner. And when I talk about changing television, these are the people who are doing it, and the person who gets credit as creator, writer, and executive producer, and is doing fabulous television. Keeps ending up on my top 10 lists at Fresh Air, Noah Hawley. And that's all the time we have.
Let us begin.
Yes. So, the very first thing, because we've got so many people in so little time, I'm trying to fashion a couple of questions to let several people pop in at once. Because we've just seen the clip, the music is such an important part of it. And if you will start by talking about the music in this episode, and then so many of you have had to sing or dance where maybe you didn't know you were going to have to do that when you started in the series. I'd like to hear from any of the stories about what you did and how you did it?
Well, I feel like so much of your experience of watching something actually happens through your ears when you go to a film or on television, and so much of this show is about creating the state of mind in which you need to be in order to watch the story. So, you know, there's music throughout this clip, and it's all music that pays off at the end of the episode as part of a song. And there's just something, you know, that feels both kind of retro and futuristic about it, and that's what I like.
Okay, and people who have sung and danced in this series so far?
Mr. Rainbow Connection?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you play the banjo? Was a question I didn't think I'd get asked doing this show, but yeah, I remember that script coming in. 45 minutes later, somebody had produced a banjo, and I was working on Rainbow Connection, and then it sort of went from there, really. We ended up doing the dance battle with Jermaine and Aubrey at the top of season 2. That was pretty awesome. Bollywood, day one. That was the beginning of our journey, was all of us learning to Bollywood dance in Vancouver. It's a big thing up there. Naveed and I singing Behind Blue Eyes. Woo! In Farsi.
Thank you. I didn't even know what I'm getting myself into, so. Oh, God help us.
And when you're choosing songs, you've even done covers for these.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because it's cheaper than getting the real songs, or whether you're showing off your voice, or what's happening there.
Well, I think Jeff Russo and I, the composer, we talked about wanting the songs to feel like score, to feel like they fit musically into the show. So that was what was behind it in the first place, was just, you know, you hear it a certain way in your head, and then the easiest way to reach that point is to do it yourself. And, you know, my motto is, what else can I get away with? And no one said, no, you can't do that. So we just keep doing it.
And then this is a question so that the actors can all talk about how they came to say yes to this project. I assume that for each one of you, there was something different that you read in the first script that you were given that made you say, okay, and then you had to get the job. But can you remember, this many seasons later, what it was that made you think, okay, this is something I really have to do if I can?
Well, I mean, for me it was Noah, I think. We worked on Fargo together, and he brought yeah, I think it was just his excitement for the world and for the story, and to think about a Marvel piece with his writing was just really exciting. Why not?
Well, for me, it was the same thing. I had a half an hour conversation with him when I was in London, and the way that he sees the world and the way that he sees his characters, it was so fascinating for me. And I wanted to work with him. That's it.
Okay. Anybody else? I want to get more voices here.
I was living in Tokyo at the time, and my agency, they sent me this audition, so I did the self-tape on my iPhone, and Noah responded well to it, and I started to watch Legion, and I think that about 2 or 3 episodes in, I just realized how special of a show this was, and how special of a experience this was going to be, so I felt no cell in my body wanted to say no to this.
Aubrey?
I met Noah for coffee, and I believe I was on crutches at the time.
You were?
And I thought I was meeting for a different part. But then Noah said, well, how about the part of Lenny Busker? Which in the pilot was written as a middle-aged man. And I said, well, I didn't really think about that part when I read the script.
It was your first mistake.
That's right. And he said, well, you know, we can swap the gender. And I was like, well, that sounds interesting, but I don't know if I want to play, you know, just some kind of weirdo in a mental hospital, and I don't really know what's going on with this character. So, and then he said, well, you know, you'll die and your body will be taken over by an evil mutant psychic villain. And I said, I'll do that. And that's how I came on board.
You were true to your word, yeah. Amber?
For me, it was very similar to Lauren's story. I think I was in a small town called Conyers, Georgia, with my mom, and I got an audition that was 3 pages of dialogue between a character that was not named Carrie, with another character that was not in the show, and I did it, and I only knew that it was Marvel, and I knew that it was Noah, and I think just what I read in the 3 pages and what I felt when I did it. It wasn't, and knowing who was involved with it, it wasn't really a question of would I do it, it was more a question of like, can I? Because it was just something that I had no question that I wanted to do.
The thing you have to know about Amber Midthunder's reel is that it has her riding dirt bikes and like extreme sports, and it's a thing of beauty. So there was no question that Amber was going to be in the show.
That's just the weekend, you guys.
And Jeremy to complete the set.
Yeah, I was in New York at the time, and yeah, it came through as the Untitled Noah Hawley project for FX, and I was like, all right, FX is dope. I don't even know if I knew who Noah was at that time. I was like, all right, then I looked him up, and I started watching Fargo, and I was like, oh, okay. This guy's dope. And then it was the same. I think it was someone named Peter at the time, was the character's name, which is so different than Patanomy. Which is like the farthest you can go away from Patanomy is Peter. And I did a tape, and then they just heard like he likes it, and then it was kind of just from there, it just slowly happened.
Okay. This is for either the producers or the cast members. I'm wondering if there was anything from the 2 seasons so far, or the season that's coming up, that when you encountered it on the page, you were either really frightened by having to do it, or couldn't figure out how it could be done. And that's why I'm opening it up to the executive producers as well, because I look at the finished product and I wonder, how was that done? How did you decide, that you were going to Fred Astaire that whole room again and turn it upside down? Are there any examples of things that you can't believe you got away with, either personally or as a unit?
Just speaking on behalf of Marvel, this show, every page is a surprise, and we sort of pride ourselves on coming up with surprises. But Noah is a filmmaker in his own league, and so it really, I sort of echo everyone's sentiment, which is, why do this? Well, why not when Noah's involved? And so, because it's going to be fresh, because it's going to try to push the boundaries to try to get. And what was sort of remarkable was that when you sit and talk with Noah, and it's sort of fascinating that he's 2 seats away and I'm talking about him as though he passed away.
I'm retired.
What's interesting is that he'll explain to you exactly what it is that you're going to see. And so it's a little bit like someone trying to tell you what a duck looks like if you've never seen a duck. And you just sort of picture in your mind, okay, so it's sort of like this big, and it has a mouth like this, and then you finally see it and you go, oh, that's a duck. And so every scene is this sort of work of magic that this incredible cast matched with these scripts, and then my partner, Lauren, making sure that it comes in reasonably on time. And makes the magic of it. I just want to go to the place which is that I think we've talked a lot about, that this is kind of the end of this particular journey. And that I'm sort of hoping that all of you will join us in trying to convince Noah to come back and do something else with Marvel that would be everyone that's up here as well, and it would just be
I'm busy.
easy. What?
So, to get one of those scripts, first of all, myself and my fellow executive producer, John Cameron, and I look at each other and go, did you get this? Do you understand? Everybody asks each other, everybody understands. We have an amazing crew. A lot of them were in season 2. And we work as a really sort of well-oiled machine. And literally, we try to figure out how to do what is on the page, which is almost virtually impossible. But there's a component that you all don't know about. So we finally figured out with our fabulous visual effects team and our DPs and our designers. And when it's all done, and after the director does their cut, then it goes into Noah Hawley's land. And that is in the editing room. And what you saw as the director's cut, and what you remember from the script, is nothing like when it comes out. And although that was scripted for her to be upside down, you never know though. I mean, a scene could be upside, he could turn a scene upside down in the editing room if it served the way that he saw the story. And that's the fun and the magic of working with Noah.
Are you leaning forward to say, okay, no, I'm not. So here's an acting question, and I can think of at least 4 of you as members of the cast who are not just playing one person, but have, over the first 2 seasons already, played several, sometimes at the same time, and I'm wondering what the actor trick is to doing that and keeping straight as to who's who when all the who's are you.
That's a big question, I guess, isn't it? It's a very good question. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not alone on this. You know, we have there's an amazing room full of people working on every single episode of this who will help you with questions like that, like, what am I doing? What's happening now? and it's fun. You know, it's just a series of challenges. And kind of following up to your previous question, it is just every script. There's a kind of warm thrill of confusion that sort of washes over you, a kind of space cadet glow, where you're just like, I don't really know what's happening, but it's great. And
That's what it's like watching it.
That's what it's like to transmit, and that's what it's like to receive. And so we're all sort of sharing in this wonderful experience, and that's really what it has been. I think is an experience. And so each one of those entities that might be at the helm of David at any one time is all kind of feeding the larger experience. Really, I'm never looking for the sort of the overarching narrative to each one of them. It's how they are battling, you know, with one particular situation or one particular interaction. But it's just a whole ball of fun challenges every day.
Well, here's one specific. When you and Rachel in character switched consciousnesses,
Yeah.
did you like talk to each other beforehand about which bits of your physical personalities you were going to steal, and how did that go?
A little bit. Yeah, watching each other and getting to play each other. It was quite fun. It's sort of what you always, I think, after a certain time in a show, you always wish you could switch roles and play other people's parts. And we kind of got to do that on quite a regular basis. Some of us very literally. And it happened quite early on for us. I suppose we'd only known each other a few weeks, but...
So often when I would switch bodies with someone, I would get knocked unconscious or like into a coma or something. So it was fun to play you.
Likewise. But you got to play Katie, kind of?
Yeah, well, I would say that, I mean, I feel like I've played a couple different people in my own brain, at least I think so. But I think for me it was always really about David and whatever I am to him in that moment or something. So it's like David is Lenny's everything. So I think that was always kind of the thing that would keep me grounded no matter how many personalities were coming through or something. And with Amy Haller, really, I didn't have to play her. I just absorbed her DNA and had blue eyes then. And so I felt that one very physically.
You can't really see what goes in, can you?
It depends on what light I'm in, but generally no, everything's just like a blur, which is how I like it.
Does anybody else want to talk about the multiple personality? I don't even think that's what it is, but whatever it is, because a couple of you say something down there. You know what I'm asking about.
I feel like Dan kept giving me eyes. I mean, I think it's so funny because some people are like, you guys are the same person, right? No, you're separate people. No, you're the same person. Like, they have the argument for me in front of me about the Karings. And even Bill and I have that argument together where we disagree. But he's not here right now, by the way, because he's inside of my head. I feel like it was different because to me, we are separate people, but we just share a space. And so for us, it was really like, from the first day that we met, I like zeroed in on him and I was like, we're gonna be best friends. And we really are, like, we're very close and we spend a lot of time together and, you know, it's just sort of like, how do we, I feel like our cohabitated space is a lot of focusing on our differences rather than where we are alike, because I think that's the beauty of the Carries, is that they make up this dynamic of two people who seem so in sync that they are one. And I feel like that's how we've done that. But even like in the first season, I had that thing where like Aubrey's monster thing took over my body. And when I did that, I feel like I just asked her all the questions. I just found her and I trapped her in a corner and I asked her everything I could.
And then to make the transition to season 3, and I've only got a couple of minutes before I turn the questions over to you guys, so in a couple of minutes if you want to go towards the microphones. But Lauren, I'm wondering, we just saw you and just about only you for the first, what's going to be 20-25% of the pilot, or the premiere of the new season. I can't remember the last time a character was introduced that aggressively.
Yeah, it's crazy for me to watch it now too, because this is the first time I've ever done any kind of scripted anything. And I mean, to have it be with Marvel and with Noah and FX and Legion, it's, I remember I was watching, because I was living in Japan, but once I got this job, I just dropped everything, left my apartment and moved straight out to LA, and I finished watching season 2 on the plane, and then shortly after that I was going into fittings and starting season 3, so it's just been a crazy whirlwind, and I'm really excited for you all to see and get to know Switch, though. It's going to be a very interesting season, and it's been a crazy time of learning for me.
This is what I'm going to follow up on. It's going to be a very interesting season. It is the final season. I didn't make that.
You like to think of it as it's the end of this particular story. That's
No, I think that's a question that you should address. I'll frame it this way. If this is indeed the end of Legion as we know it right now, why end it after 3, and how did you decide upon an appropriate end point?
Well, you know, in looking at a story about a character who is mentally ill, there was a sense of kind of path of the illness and recovery that he goes on. You know, we meet him in the hospital. He's had his lowest point. They've medicated him, and he gets to a place. He meets a girl. Let's call her his real medication. He gets very happy. Leaves the hospital. Everything's going great. Then he stops taking his meds. Then he starts to spiral. I feel like where we left him at the end of the second season, at his lowest point, there's only two ways that he can go. He can either get back to a healthy place, or he can go off the bottom of the map. And once we decided which one of those he's going to do, it felt like that's sort of the end of the story, because otherwise you just start the loop all over again. But it's not an easy decision to end a story, and we're filming the last episode now, and we just filmed the final scene last night, and it's very obviously it's bittersweet, but a story has no meaning without its ending, and the old paradigm of television was major corporations don't usually do a mic drop after a success. You have to keep going and keep going, and there's something about being allowed to just tell a complete story where the length of the show is dictated by the length of the story that makes television better. So,
one minor and one major follow-up. The minor is that a lot of shows that are ending to make it fun for the cast will, even if they shoot out of sequence, have the final thing that's shot include as many cast members as possible. Did you do that?
I included as many cast members as possible, yes, for that particular scene.
Ooh. If there's just one person left standing, he still told the truth.
It's a great scene. You're going to learn.
And the larger thing, which is again talking about television and changing, when you do seasons of Fargo, and it's a self-contained story, and you know that you have an end, it gives you freedom. Do you sense more of that freedom in this final season to do what you want to do with different characters?
Well, obviously, as you get closer to the end of the story, things become more dramatic, and the stakes are higher, and we all have a sense of time running out as the episodes go by. And I think that this season has been really compelling, I think, for all of us. I think the middle season, as middle seasons tend to do, felt very expansive, and we invented a lot, and we played a lot, and we told an adult story in a very whimsical way, but now we are on a path to the end, and it makes things more dramatic and therefore more exciting, I feel like.
And even though we have one season left to go, I have a question for you, Jeff, which is, where do you see this series as fitting into the legacy of Marvel TV entertainment?
Well, I think it's fair to say that it's an extraordinary show, and will always be seen as an extraordinary show. If you're asking how it fits into the continuity of what we do...
Not the continuity so much as the quality.
Oh, it's, things that live on FX are, they have to be sort of better than other stuff. And so, and then you have Noah, and then you have Lauren. It's, when you put together sort of the murderer's row of talent, you sort of hope that you're going to get something that kills, and it does, and did, and will continue to. One of the things that I sort of love about television that we're making right now is that it's the kind of show that's going to be on forever, and so it'll be one of those shows that people talk about a year from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and then if it's... And I don't think anyone would argue that. I mean, you just sort of go, okay, that sort of goes in the vault of great television. But that's why I always keep coming back to, okay, so what else? Now, again, it very much reminds me of comic book publishing, which is there are Marvel's been publishing comics for over 75 years, and we all, in our hearts, have that run of that particular character that we loved, or that when that particular writer or artist was doing that particular character, you can now collect that and put it in your library and go, I have that as part of it. And so my hope is that there'll be several graphic novels that are television shows that are written and directed by Noah, and I can always go back to my library and go, ooh, I can watch that again and enjoy it. And I don't think I'm alone in that desire.
At that point, we have time for maybe 2.5 questions.
Again, the length of the story and the length of the show, and part of it also was just the time that we had and when FX wanted the show back and how many we could make. But I think 8 was the right number in both the first and this season. What I found with this show is it doesn't want to be long. Like, it's a lot to take in. And the episodes don't want to be long, and I think there's something to, we're giving you something for your mind, and if it's too much, you get overwhelmed by it. So as much as we want more of a good thing, as I tell my kids, moderation.
All right, next question.
I want more candy.
Hello. Hi, how's it going?
Good.
It's going fine.
I like how this show is very layered. You can't tell what's real, what's not. My question is for one or more of everybody. Is there a Marvel or X-Men character you'd like to see join the world of Legion?
I mean, it's not up to me, but
It's so up to you, it's ridiculous.
yeah, it's fun. We do get to have Mr. Xavier in this year. Fabulous Harry Lloyd, and he's fabulous. I think, Dan, you've had some fun acting with Harry. And
I was just going to say, that is who I would like to see introduced into Legion, and you might be pleasantly surprised by season 3. So yeah, it's a great addition.
Thank you.
We've just gotten some news there, and we still have 2 minutes left, so fast question.
My question is for Aubrey, and how do you think April Ludgate would feel if she was taken over by Farouk?
What'd you just say to me? How do I feel? What?
How do you think April Ludgate would feel if she was taken over by Farouk?
I mean, I think she'd like it. I don't think she'd be very different than she is. And she'd probably be better at her job. And she'd probably kill Jerry once and for all.
Very well done. Next question.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Legion is my favorite show. I don't know what I'm going to do without this on. I have kind of a variation on the question that was said before. There was an article that said the top 10 characters that should be folded into the MCU. David was included on the list. What Marvel Cinematic Universe character do you think would be a good foil for your character? Either as a villain or a hero, who would play best off of your character?
I think you took too deep a dive.
That's a question that is like watching Legion.
Doctor Strange. I feel like Doctor Strange would fit into Legion.
I went to see Doctor Strange and I thought, it's not that strange.
Which actually says less about Doctor Strange. Anyway, at this point, because we were supposed to close up at 5 minutes up, 3 groups I would like to thank. The first, I would like to thank all of you for filling this room and supporting this show. The second, I would like to thank the people at FX who allowed me to moderate this, because my passion for this show is as strong as yours. But mostly, everybody that is on this panel right here for doing great work individually and collectively that is making it so much fun to watch television.